And we're back to learning Photoshop, day 4. Let's talk about the Move tool. We've already used that in the previous tutorials. Let me unlock this layer, so double click on it, confirm we are OK. We have our background now unlocked. I'll create a rectangle. We have our background now unlocked. I'll create a rectangle. By the way, I right click here on this rectangle tool to have the other options available. We'll create an ellipse and a triangle as well. Give that different colors using the properties menu. Now let's talk about the Move tool right here. V is the short key for it. Unless the name suggests, you can use it to move stuff around. For example, here this ellipse. The ellipse layer is active, therefore even if I left click and drag on the rectangle, the ellipse is moved around. So I've got it set so that the Move tool only moves what is on the specific layer that's active. Let me switch to the rectangle layer. Now I can move that around. I left click and drag on the ellipse and still the rectangle moves because they're not on the same layer. But you can change that behavior. Just check this box right here, auto select, it's set to layer. You can also set it to group. And now if I left click on these elements, you can see I'm on the rectangle layer. And even though I am on that layer, it switches to the ellipse layer and the triangle layer automatically if I left click drag on these elements. So when auto select is active, Photoshop kind of knows what element you want to drag around and it switches automatically to the layer where that element is on. In some cases that's very helpful, in other cases it isn't. So sometimes you want to check it, sometimes you want to uncheck it. Next up, we've got this drop down, it's just for the presets, but for this current tool there shouldn't be any presets installed, so don't worry too much about that. Instead we want to check what is called Show Transform Controls. If you check that box, you can see your bounding box of the elements and then you can transform them with a left click drag. This also changes the top menu to the properties of the specific element. If you're done, you can press enter or just confirm here with a left click. I like to uncheck that, and you can also bring that back pressing Ctrl T. Then you see all of these alignment options and they're grayed out. The reason is you need to have something selected for them to be active. Let me switch to the rectangle layer and then I press Ctrl A. Ctrl A is going to select the entire canvas and you can see these marching ants now on the borders of my background layer. And now the alignment options are not grayed out anymore. And we can use them on the rectangle layer. And this puts the rectangle, for example, in the center of my canvas. If I drag that around, you can see this was my selection. And when I press Ctrl D, it's going to deselect everything. Then I press Ctrl A again. And I can move that rectangle in my selection area around, which is the entire canvas currently. Same goes obviously for all of the other elements. We switch the layer to the ellipse, now the triangle, and this is what these options are for. As I've said, I've used Ctrl A to select all and Ctrl D to deselect. Under select you can find these options as well, just left click on them. Here are more options for the settings. So what is being shown, for example, the layer bounds on hover or expand layer group on click and show hover bounds from layers. It's just personal preference. I would advise especially beginners to keep it as it is. You don't really need to change anything here to have Photoshop run properly. And finally, to the left of it, there's another option, these 3 dots, and I want to talk about that in the next video. For now, what you should take away from this video is especially the auto select. So if you uncheck it, you will only move the active layer around, and if you check it, it switches the layer automatically for you. And then these alignment options, they're active when you have something selected. I hope this video was helpful, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Unless the name suggests, you can use it to move stuff around. For example, here this ellipse. The ellipse layer is active, therefore even if I left click and drag on the rectangle, the ellipse is moved around.